All right, so here we are on the Brewing Science Institute's website. It's brewingscience.com. We're going to go ahead and take a look at ordering from them. When you first log in, they've got this little pop-up here. They kind of advertise for which strains they have that are new. They actually have a ton of information on their website. If you start to dig through their yeast library, they have started carrying next day yeast. They've got a pricing guide on here. They used to have a whole brewer's lab handbook posted on here with a bunch of tips for kind of anything in the brewing industry you might have a question about, which is kind of cool, including some testing practices back here in the back, places to order lab supplies. So this is a pretty handy guide if you need any of these things, or curious about identifying bacteria or anything like that. So going through their library, they certainly have one of, if not the largest collection of yeast strains for a brewer. If you are wondering how any of their naming convention works, any of these strains, for the most part, came from white labs or Y yeast originally, and you can tell which strain is which by the numbers. And so, like this A56 strain here, this used to be 1056 from Y yeast. We've got, if we want to go look at just the American strains, then anything that's got this BSI number would be a white lab strain. So BSI 001 and white labs 001 are the same strain, and so on. So it's pretty easy to figure out which strain is which, and it might still tell you on the website when you click on each individual yeast strain where it was originally sourced. No, but they're old. If you're able to get a hold of their old PDF, it just told you where all the strains came from or what they were most similar to. So I might be able to find an old copy of that and load it onto the website. But taking a look at ordering, we can click order here. You have to set up an account with them before you're able to order, which is a little bit of a hurdle. But once you set up an account, you can go ahead and order from them. They do a lot of blends if you want to blend. You can order a yeast starter, which is a smaller pitch of yeast at a higher cell concentration that you're using to grow up the yeast on your own. They carry a bunch of bacteria. And so if we look here then at their calculator for calculating yeast pitches, you can see that they suggest for ales with an original gravity of 16 Plato or less to pitch 1 million cells per mil. For lagers, 1.5 million cells per mil. And then for higher gravity patches to start adding more yeast cells. And so this is where it kind of gets a little tricky for them. So if we wanted to order 10 barrels worth of yeast with a starting Plato of 15 and a pitch rate of 1 million cells, which again, that's what they are suggesting here. We actually need to order a 21 barrel pitchable, so more than double what you might originally estimate. And so then if we wanted to order a lager yeast strain, now we need to order a 32 barrel pitchable for a 10 barrel batch. So you just have to be very careful of that when you then go look at their pricing, because initially BSI looks like one of the cheapest options, right? It looks like you can get a 10 barrel pitch for $297, but that's not actually true, right? It's not $297 because based on that last screen, it wants us to order a 21 barrel pitch, or if we're brewing an ale, or a 32 barrel pitch if we're brewing a lager. And so once you do the math, BSI quickly becomes, not very price competitive. Although if you watch the video on White Labs, this is still about half the price of what White Labs wanted to charge you for the same amount of yeast cells. And so it's just very important to make sure that you know how many yeast cells you're ordering, because that's what you're actually paying for.